Ladies and gentlemen, from one stage to another, pro dancer to pro speaker, from travelling the globe, performing with #1 selling artists and entertaining millions, to award-winning entrepreneur and expert business coach. Regularly called upon by The Times, The Guardian, and Bloomberg to give advice, talked about by Google, and having built a £1 million business in less than 2 years, he's now a digital marketer who has touched over 4 million people to date. Author of Think Digital First, the Modern Entrepreneur's Workbook to Business Growth, here today to talk about how technology has disrupted sales and marketing. Please welcome to the stage, Warren Knight.
Thank you very much for that great introduction. So I'm sure a couple of you are thinking about what you just heard, and I'd like to clarify that point by doing a very small demonstration. So there is a person at Creare who doesn't know what's going to happen right now, but Hannah, if you'd like to come to the stage, I'm going to show you how to do the moonwalk. So if you'd like to come onto the stage, no, I'm joking. I wouldn't do that to you, Hannah. I love that one, it is really good. So I am going to be sharing with you today really about how technology has disrupted your sales and marketing process. I'm going to be showing you why it's so important to connect with your social customers, and more importantly, those target customers. Then I'm going to show you the customer acquisition journey, so the how to actually get that person to the point of not knowing you as a business, to the point of them becoming a happy customer. Then I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tools. So what are some of those tools that actually allow us to engage with our customer while we're still adding value? And then if you take all of that and you add it to your business, what is it that's going to be able to make you grow your business? It's that if we apply this, what does it mean to our business right now? Now, as you sort of very kindly mentioned, I am the now author of a book called Think Digital First. So everybody in your bags, you should all have a copy of Think Digital First. It is something that I have been thinking about for about the last 2.5 years, but the book actually took me 3 months to write. But I did have a ghostwriter helping me do that. I have a certain style, the way that I like to work, and that isn't sitting down in front of a computer screen and actually typing lots of words. I'm a little bit more animated around that. So for me to achieve the goal of getting a book, I actually had to work with somebody who was going to help me achieve that goal and actually be a ghostwriter with that. Now, everybody that's here at the moment, they've all got a copy of the book each. Now, is there anybody here that would actually like a copy to give to their friends? Would someone like an extra copy? Is anybody? You're like, okay, great, thank you very much. So I'm going to give you an extra copy so you can give that to your friend. Thank you very much. So, social media will not fix a broken business. I have numerous conversations with companies that say, but if I use social media, I'll be able to grow my business. It's a part of the marketing mix. We've heard throughout this afternoon how important social has become within the journey of growing your business, but don't think about social media as a way of fixing your company if it isn't doing what you want it to do. Now, there are a lot of social networks that are out there at the moment. I'm going to be choosing just one of these social networks for the purpose of my customer acquisition journey to share with you today. I'm going to be really focusing on Twitter. So Twitter as a tool is my preferred tool. I've got over 20,000 people that follow me on Twitter. That is the one tool that I love using. It doesn't mean that I don't distribute my content across the other social networks, but it is the tool that I have a lot of fun with and I get really engaged with my customers online. So here's a little Twitter page you guys might recognize. What do we do when we want to go and find our target customer? Well, if Creare focus on small to medium-sized companies, and I focus on small to medium-sized companies, maybe by going to their Twitter account, I might be able to find some people that I can work with. So I come to their account and I click on their followers. You can see they've got nearly 2,500 followers, and I can quickly scan through those followers and just see maybe a company, a person who I might want to work with. But what I don't do with that person is actually say to them, come and work with me, come and buy my products, let me see if I can help you. The first thing that I want to do with that company is actually think about adding value to that company. Now, Here's another company that also might have my target audience. They get 25,000 people through a show over 2 days. So again, when you're thinking about your target customer, where do they hang out? Where are they online at the moment that will enable you as a business to connect with them, engage with them, but first of all by adding value? Now, what does that added value look like? Well, if there are 5,700 tweets being sent every second, how do you get your message heard over and above everybody else's? Well, it might be to really add value. And adding value, as I've said to that person, is about sending them to maybe somebody else's website. You want to keep adding value to that person. So somebody who might be a target customer of mine, I'm going to send them over to somewhere else to read some great content to help them with their business. But does anybody see something on the page at the moment? Can anybody see anything? You've got my branding sitting at the bottom of the page with a very simple call to action. It's defined as social media and digital marketing, and I'm offering a complimentary 7-day e-course. Come along and download it now. I found someone I didn't know. I've sent them off to someone who's going to add value to them, but at the same time, I'm marketing to them. I get a 16.7% click-back ratio. 16.7%. So some of you guys that understand the true analytics around what a click-through means, that's a very high click-through rate. So for every 100 people I send off, nearly 17 of those come back to me and they look at my website. But what you also get is starting a two-way conversation. So I start with doing this. I've found those individuals on that website and I tweet at them. So you can see up here, join my Think Did Your First keynote, you've got the business show, then you've got a couple of companies that I've mentioned, and then you've got this little link there. So I tweet at my target customers, but I send them through to a landing page that's going to add value to them, but market to them so they can come back to me. And by doing that, starts really nice conversations. So people that I don't know are actually going, hey Warren, thank you very much, come back. And then I come back with them, have a conversation. Why not come and say hi when I'm there? It builds that two-way conversation. This is not about just marketing your business at somebody. This is about bringing them along the trust journey online. This is the tool that I use that allows me to do that. The tool's called Opener. I was down at their offices in London. Christine is a fantastic owner of the business. She's really got some great vision for where the business is going to go. Maybe I should get her on the pitch to come down and get some more funding for the business. I did have to pitch for my company, and I have to say, standing up in front of here of you guys is a walk in the park compared to getting up in front of investors and talking with someone about how passionate you are about their product, so they give you 150 grand out of their pocket to give into you, to put into your company. But I did do that, and so that made me feel a bit better about being up here today. But this is a great tool, and it's free to use. Obviously, it's a software as a service platform. So as a small business, you can get started with it. But then as a bigger business, you can really understand how to integrate this into your marketing mix. And here are some of the stats. It gives you all of that data. So when you're running, okay, so how many people are actually business owners? Just let me know. Okay, and how many of you are agencies? Okay, there's only a few agencies. So if you are looking at running a digital campaign, then you can use this tool and give clear stats around the kind of reach that you're getting by using one tool, but then the actual click-through rate coming back through to their website. So it's a great little tool to use. When you're looking at engaging online, find your micro niche. Find out what works for you. By speaking to your customers, you get a much better understanding of where it is they hang out. So whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Google, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever it might be, all of these social networks have a way of getting in contact with people on their network. But find your niche to achieve that outcome. So now we want to go through the lead generation process. Now, I do a lot of webinars. I run a lot of webinars. I've got a lot of great content that sits on my website. And throughout that process, obviously, I'm working digitally online. So who here would like a copy of my DVD? Who would like a copy of my DVD? Excellent, okay. So I've got a fantastic DVD here called Leon. Actually, it's got some great actors in here. I think there was, we've got Natalie Portman when she was really young, actually, in that movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's absolutely fantastic. Now, if you're looking to capture leads, I do webinars to capture leads by giving away my time and my content for free to capture those leads. But what's really important is you want to take people through to a landing page. So this is something that, again, I'd like to give away to everybody today. I have a complimentary 7-day e-course that really just takes you through the step-by-step process to be able to get used to using social media a little bit better. Now, I analysed it. This started out as a free 8-day guide, because you can see there, on day 8, I show you how to get to the top of LinkedIn in 60 seconds. But after using a very simple tool like Hootsuite, scheduling those tweets to go out at certain times a day and analysing how many people clicked on that, I changed that to a 7-day guide. And then in week 3, I changed it to a complimentary 7-day e-course. So then I now know by analysing my data that my audience love the word complimentary and they love the word e-course. So when you're doing this type of analysis, if you're going to send people to a page, make sure that you've got the right keywords that are connecting with your target audience so that when they come through to the landing page, it enables them to sign up. Now, there's lots of data that's out there at the moment that shows that if we have a form online, the more boxes we have to fill in, the less we end up filling those boxes in. So if you can get away with just asking an email address, you'll get a much better conversion rate of getting that lead generation. I tend to like a name and email address because I like things to be really personal. You can also add a telephone number if you want to throughout this process. But when you have that lead generating page, track it, test it, do A/B testing, and make sure that you're analysing that data. Keep it simple, stupid. The easier we make it for people to... The trust is, the quicker the journey we get that person to become a happy customer, and then they become a lovely brand advocate for us and our business. So now we're getting into the email process. We've captured that lead. What do? Well, we send them out a very nice autoresponder series. So this is a series of emails that go out on a particular time of day, continuously adding value. So you can see here, I actually wrote this back in 2008. The only difference really, I think Facebook had 500 million users, now they've got 1.5 million users. Just the stats have changed. The context of actually getting your customer online and for them to become a happy customer hasn't changed for that process. But this process allows me to send it immediately, then send it on day 1, and then that one goes out on day 2. This autoresponder series is actually a 28-day autoresponder series. So I can keep adding value every time somebody signs up to my e-course, my 6-step lead generation strategy, chapter 5 of my book, whatever it might be, where I want to capture that lead of that target audience. Think about how you can keep adding value to those people. Here are some great tools to use. We've obviously heard Constant Contact. You've got MailChimp, Infusionsoft, a little bit of a weightier tool to use. It really depends on where you're at with your business. Obviously, some of these have different price points associated to them as well. So wherever you're at with the business, make sure you do your research to get these tools. Stay focused. As I said, I wrote my book in 3 months. Blocked out a lot of my time. I had my ghostwriter come around twice a week. I wanted the book finished. I started in September, middle of September. It was finished by December. With your campaign, stay focused, analyze that information, and get the job done. It's so difficult as business owners to focus working on the business instead of in the business. So now we're getting to the fun part. We want to analyze that information. Why is it so important to analyze that information? Now, you've heard some great stats today around the reason for that, but what does that mean for you in the business managing that campaign? Well, it looks a little bit like this. So you can very quickly see here that through the analysis inside of my email marketing tool, I can clearly see who's clicked on that information the most. if I'm going to spend my time communicating with my target customers, I want to make sure that they're the ones that are most engaged with me as a brand. So by analyzing this data, really enables me to focus on the people, Vicky, Julia, Sue. These are the people that are most engaged with me as a brand. I brought them through the trust process. They've clicked back. I built that trust with them. And now I want to bring them into my sales process. This is very much about the marketing funnel at the moment. And now we want to get into that sales process. We heard earlier about the old school way of doing things. So I used to be, when I was younger, I lived in a little village called Studham. Does anybody know Whipsnade Zoo? Who remembers Whipsnade? Do you know about Whipsnade Zoo? There's quite a few people here knows Whipsnade Zoo. So when I was younger, about sort of 12, 13 years old, I used to get really excited about Saturdays. Saturdays for me were the day that I would hear, I'd be downstairs, I could hear my dad getting out of his bed, walking to the edge of the stairs, looking over at me, standing at the stairs, waiting to give me my pocket money. He'd come down the stairs and he'd give me my pound note. I would then take that pound note, I'd go over to my garage, I'd open up my garage door, and my red rally grifter would be gleaming at me, waiting to be ridden. So I'd get my rally grifter out and I'd get on it and I'd cycle as fast as I can all the way down to our little village. We had 2 shops in our little village. On the right-hand side was our post office. On the left, we had Maisie's. Maisie's was a sweet shop. It was the best shop in the world. So I'd take my rally grifter and I'd put it up against the glass and I'd walk through the door and the bell would go ding-ling-ling and Maisie would go, "Good morning, Warren." I'd go, "Morning, Maisie," because my voice hadn't broken then. She said, "Would you like to use your Warren?" I said, "Yes, please, Maisie." So she'd lean over to a little plastic tub, she'd unscrew the lid, she'd get a scoop and she'd take out a quarter of cola cubes, she'd put it into a little white bag and she'd turn it over like that and she'd give me my little white bag of cola cubes. I'd give Maisie my pounds, get loads of change back. And then I would then get back on my bike and cycle as fast as I can, hoping that maybe 1 or 2 of my friends might be outside, and if Kevin was lucky enough, he might get a cola cube. Now, that is what we heard earlier on when we were talking about the Jack the Ripper tours. How he used to go out with his flyers, going to every single hotel, any place he could do, the old school way. So now, I live in North London, and on a Sunday, I walk down to my farmer's market. So I go with my bags down to my farmer's market, and I walk over to my favourite fish stall, and Chris says, "Morning, Warren." I go, "Morning, Chris." My voice is broken by this time. He said, "Would you like the usual?" I say, actually, no, the salmon looks great. Can I have the salmon?" He leans over to get the salmon. So hold on a minute. Take out my smartphone and I take a picture of the salmon. And then I share that just like that to 30,000 people. Technology has changed everything except what we do in human nature. So whilst I talk about the technology process and how technology has disrupted the journey that we go on, it's made it more and more difficult for us as businesses to engage with our target customers online and for them to become happy customers. It's now 8 times they've got to connect with us through social media, through coming to our website. Maybe they want to click onto that little email marketing and then they get an email from us once a month, whatever that ratio is. And then we build that trust and then they finally come back and buy from us. But what we mustn't do is forget the old school ways of picking up that phone. It's so important that we spend that time to communicate that message. Now, I had a fantastic mentor. I used to work with Disney many years ago. I was doing like $1 million of sales a month when I was working with Disney. I still hold that record now. But coming out of working in that sort of corporate environment, I sort of got a little bit lost. I knew what I wanted to do. I found social media back in 2006, 2007, and I knew that was what I wanted to do. But by having a mentor enabled me to get really focused on what was important to me and the value that I could bring to people. And one thing that he always taught me was always think about the next level up. In other words, if you're going to send a tweet to someone, maybe email them. If you're going to email them, why not pick up the phone? If you're going to pick up the phone, why not have a meeting with them? But a meeting that has an outcome. So throughout this process, it is about the technology, but it is about the old school way of picking up the phone. Now, for the purpose of today, I want to capture that name and email address. But one thing LinkedIn does for us is it enables us to get somebody's telephone number. If that person's gone into LinkedIn and when they've signed up to LinkedIn, they put all their details in, that telephone number is going to be there for you as a business to engage with them as a brand. Now, I had a company that I started working with probably about 6 months ago now. They've been an online business for 3 years. They had never picked up the phone in 3 years of being an online business. So, sat down, designed a customer acquisition journey like I shared with you today. And then I got her to come and sit with me to take her through a bit of a process around feeling comfortable about picking up that phone. But the great thing about technology is it doesn't have to cost you any money. All 3 of these social networks, well, including Skype if you like, allows you to make phone calls for free. It doesn't cost any money to actually make those phone calls. But if you're going to make that phone call, it's got to be structured. Now, I'm not talking about speaking from a script. I'm talking about having a structured phone call that adds value to the 2 people that are on that phone call and having an end result. And that end result might be to have a meeting. Now, when this online retailer came to me, I sat down with her for an hour. We went through a call structure for her. We'd already gone through the customer acquisition journey, analysed the data. We had 5 people that we could pick up the phone to. The first person she picked up the phone to was actually busy. So we slightly changed our script, our structure, and the next time that she called somebody, she was able to actually get some real data from that person to find out that they were busy, to call them back in half an hour. She called that person back in half an hour, got an order on the phone. Another person wasn't in. The next person she called, she got an order instantly on the phone from that person. She didn't know these companies before we went through this step-by-step customer acquisition journey. So when you're thinking about building your brand, think about picking up that phone. Think about connecting back with your customers and adding value to them. It doesn't have to be coming back to your website, but think about what value is important to them. It is one of the biggest problems. When I wrote my book, I spent a lot of time speaking to companies and maintaining that brand loyalty once that person became a happy customer, i.e. the inbound marketing process, was one of their biggest problems. So throughout this customer acquisition journey, find where your target audience are and where they hang out and just tweet at them, but tweet at them with added value. Think about it from a lead generation process. Everything that I do inside social, I think about it as generating a lead. Not actually acquiring that customer there and then through social, but adding value to that person. Email them, analyze that data, and pick up that phone. Now, something that I want to share with you today, how many people here have heard about Growth Accelerator? Any people heard about Growth Accelerator? Okay, so just, are you using Growth Accelerator at the moment? Are you using Growth Accelerator? You deliver it. You're a delivery partner for Growth Accelerator. If you haven't heard about Growth Accelerator, I highly recommend that you go and look it up. They've rebranded it now called the Business Growth Service. The government gave Grant Thornton £200 million to give to companies like you to work with people like Creare, like myself, that need help in their business. This cash is sitting there waiting for you to use it. I've spent over the last 18 months working with over 20 companies, going from an online store that was selling £500 online to now that is doing £10,000 online. And the government paid me to work with her. There is a little fee up front that you have to pay as a business, but the value that it brings at the other end is far more than the actual money that you spend up front. So if you are looking to get investment into your business, they have access to finance. I work with tech companies, taking them through the process of finding those investors, designing a 10-point PowerPoint presentation for their pitch, and then getting to the point of writing the term sheets, whatever it might be. Use this as a way to help whatever you're missing in your business, whether it's the accounting side, the HR side, the marketing side, the sales side. You can get that training into your business by going to Growth Accelerator. And again, I'll happily talk to anybody here. I've got some fantastic growth managers that I can put you in contact with that can help you find the right person and get the government to pay for that person to work with you. So it's a great service and I can highly recommend it. So I just want to say thank you very much for being a great audience, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.